Hi guys, welcome to another What If here. Today I'm with Crofty and Paul, and we're going to be talking about World War II and what if Germany developed nuclear weapons first before the Americans. Guys, take it away.
Hello, I'm Paul.
And I'm Crofty.
So the topic today is what happens if the Americans actually won the war by
Germans, Paul, not Americans.
the Germans actually won the war by developing nuclear weapons before the Americans did, and using them in such a way that they would have actually won the war. What do you think could have happened from there, Nathan, as they were allies of the Japanese?
Well, basically, if they'd have dominated the world by attacking America with their nukes, which is probably what would have happened because they're Germans and the Americans were not allies, they're basically probably world domination was on the agenda. But it might have been used as a threat. They might have not used them, but they would have said, look, if you don't bow down to us, we're going to nuke you. So that might have been what's happened.
Yeah, it also begs the question of how quickly it would have taken for other countries to quickly develop nuclear weapons afterwards. I mean, in reality, when the Americans first discovered nuclear weapons, it wasn't long after when next countries started discovering it, because obviously the Americans, I believe, gave it to us, and then it was looked around, and then the USSR caught on a couple of years on later. Obviously, they wanted to stay in being a big superpower. But what do you think the USSR would have done, Nathan, or Aaron?
Well, I think personally that the USSR would have wanted nuclear weapons because they want. Obviously, I think they don't want to be left out because they damn Russians. But I think that the Russians would have responded that they wanted nuclear weapons too. What do you think, Crofty?
Well, if the Russians got hold of nuclear weapons, who knows what could have happened? To be fair,
I mean, look at them now.
Like, what exactly? The modern day stuff that's going on in the news. That's a bit daunting.
What are you talking about, Ukraine?
Yeah, I think we might have diverted the subject, but that's fine. You can go on to Ukraine if you want. I mean, it's a bit iffy, and I'm not entirely sure what's actually going on.
No, actually, it could lead on because if the Russians had nuclear weapons earlier, they probably would have moved into other locations earlier.
Well, the USSR did that. It was just when Gorbachev took over of the USSR before it fell. Well, they just started splitting away, and he didn't send the tanks in or whatever to try and take them back.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, I suppose. He wasn't as such a dictator compared to a few other USSR leaders before him.
Well, the main factor here is nuclear weapons. Of course.
Nuclear weapons, yeah. Another point is if
damn it, artillery. Go on, sorry, Karen.
Germany were to have won and Japan were to have also won, there might have been a bit of a battle or a bit of a skirmish going along between the Germans and the Japanese for world domination, as they are both.
I agree, yeah.
So you're basically saying that as Germany got nukes first, they would win World War II. However, they would have an internal fight with their own allies.
Yeah. Yes. For what they are. Well, as I'll try and explain this, as a group of people, for what they stand for, whatever, and the way that they conduct themselves, I would think the Imperial Army and the Wehrmacht would start attacking each other after the war.
But why? But you say it's because of how they are, but surely the Japanese are all about honor. But surely if they knew that the Germans had nuclear weapons, why would they do that? Why would they start a war with each other?
That's a tricky question.
That is a tricky question. That's why I asked it.
Well, why do they attack America?
They attacked America because they had the element of surprise.
Well, yeah. So if they attacked
They could have
America,
given
there's
the
no
Japanese
reason.
the nuclear weapons themselves, then, couldn't they?
There's no reason why they wouldn't attack Germany for world domination, essentially.
That would be a tactical, not a tactical decision if you gave your allies nuclear weapons, because you may not be allies in the future. For example...
Well, the USA gave the UK nuclear weapons, I believe.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, for example, we were allies with the USSR. Well, the Americans were in World War II, and then due to Germany being split up later on, the Cold War. So
Oh yeah, that was to do with it was to do with two superpowers, wasn't it? Really?
exactly.
So
So
arms race, but they kind of, even in World War II, they weren't really allies. It was more Russia joined in. Well, the USSR
It was
joined
sort of
in.
like a
for
mutual
their own
agreement,
benefit.
wasn't it? A mutual agreement.
a mutual agreement of we can't let Hitler win. Let's destroy him.
Say with the UK, we helped them on with the P226 ships sending over like weapons, ammunition, supplies, but that was a bit of a disaster. Winston Churchill knew that. Well, he didn't particularly like Stalin very much. He knew he was a bit iffy, a bit of a dictator, but he knew
Only
that
a
we
tad.
needed
Only a
knew
tad.
we needed the Russians' help.
Oh yeah, because the Russians were a big superpower, and they were powerful. They had the troops, they had the manpower, because they were so big.
Well, yeah, that's what like always comes back to the point of Germany. I was going to say about your What If episode 3. It kind of came
Yeah.
back to D-Day. The Germans didn't actually need to win D-Day at all. If they actually won Stalingrad, then they wouldn't even D-Day would never even happened.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, yeah. But, so back to the original point of if Germany had nuclear weapons,
What
what
sort of society would we be in today is a good question.
yeah,
actually.
what
If
would
they-
we be learning right now?
Nazi,
history?
And Naziology, probably.
But do you think that the Germans would have stopped the Nazi that ideology by the time we by this day and age, or do you reckon it would still be carried
Well,
on?
Hitler always went on about he always wanted a 1,000-year Reich, didn't he? I mean, we all learned about that and who knows what. But yeah, there's always going to be some sort of. There's always like extreme people, or I mean, Hitler was one of them, and those extreme views may have carried on if they won the war. So, I would think so.
Right, I'm going to end that there. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Paul and Nathan, for your lovely commentaries on that. I hope leave a like and subscribe. Catch you guys later. Peace.